Good morning. Good to have you with us. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sillers. Busy day today. We're going to begin our show with the arraignment of former FBI Director James Comey. He's due in federal court this morning to face 2 counts, one of making a false statement and another of obstruction of a political proceeding.
They stem from testimony that Comey gave during a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing back in 2020. Now, ahead of last month's indictment, President Trump publicly pressured Attorney General Pam Bondi and the DOJ to go after Comey and other political adversaries. Comey denies any wrongdoing. Joining us now to talk about this, NBC News Justice reporter Ryan Riley and NBC News legal analyst Misty Maris. Good morning to both of you. Ryan, let's start with you. Remind us how we got here. What are the charges and how do they relate to that Comey hearing back in 2020?
Yeah, it's really complicated, Joe. Essentially, what they're looking at is saying that he was lying when he said he stood by his previous testimony from 2017. The statute of limitations plays a big role here because there was a 5-year statute of limitations. So really the only way they could have gotten Comey was by sort of rushing these charges over the line. And sort of the main thing I think that viewers should focus on here is who exactly is bringing this case. It's someone with zero prosecutorial experience. It was a White House aide who was previously working on the Smithsonian review. And she actually walked to the wrong table. One of our producers observed her going to the wrong table. It was the first ever case that she brought. And she also had to bring in outsiders to bring this case over the line because career prosecutors in the Eastern District of Virginia apparently did not want to go along with this case. So there's a very low bar for the initial indictment. But I think when this case actually goes before a judge, it gets more serious and proceeds presumably to a grand jury trial is when you're going to see some of the cracks in this investigation potentially show, because legal experts don't think that this is a slam dunk at all for the government.
Misty, let's bring you in here. How is today's arraignment expected to proceed, and what do you think we're likely to see from Comey?
Well, I think this is interesting because we're talking about a really rookie prosecutor bringing this case, and the dichotomy between Patrick Fitzgerald, who's going to be Comey's lawyer, a veteran prosecutor, decades of experience. But an arraignment is a pretty procedural process. Comey will come in, the formal charges will be read, he will enter a plea, it will be not guilty, and then we'll get a sense of what the timeline is like for next steps. I expect that the defense is going to want to make a motion to dismiss at some point. We're going to see what the next conference date will be, and that will give us some sense of how that's all going to play out.
So, Ryan, yesterday, Attorney General Pam Bondi, she was pressed by senators on the Judiciary Committee about the public pressure she faced from President Trump on social media to prosecute Comey, any conversations she may have had with the White House. How did she respond to that?
You know, she essentially said she wouldn't talk about them. But what we did have was these public pronunciations on social media calling on her directly. So we know a lot of this because it happened out in public, right? Her private conversations would certainly be revealing, but what's already on the public record is extremely revealing about the basis for this case. You know, there's going to try to be these comparisons between the Jack Smith case and this case, and as you know, as Misty pointed out there, the rookie experience of the prosecutor, I think, is sort of one of the key things. Look, Jack Smith case, you had these experienced prosecutors. Jack Smith himself was extremely experienced with years of a record within the Justice Department. And in this case, you have someone who is best known for defending the president on television during the proceedings of the James Comey case.
So, Misty, what do you think here about the strength of the case? We heard Ryan say a lot of legal experts aren't sure it's really there. What do you think, and how does that mean each side approaches this trial?
Well, so we won't know what the evidence is until it actually goes to trial. But based on what we know so far, there's a lot of skepticism to bring the case to begin with. When it came to the grand jury, only 14 out of 23 voted to indict. So that's not great odds when you're talking about needing a jury to find beyond a reasonable doubt by 12 individuals. And then the other piece of this is that we talked about this motion to dismiss for selective or vindictive prosecution. We're likely to see the defense take that path. And normally you're looking for something that maybe was done in back channels. Maybe there's a memo somewhere. We're going to be pulling the Truth Social and using that as the basis from a defense perspective to see if this can be thrown out before it even gets to the court.
So there is a chance the judge in this case could just look at that alone and say, I'm tossing this case?
It's possible. Now, every defense attorney makes that motion. 99% of the time, it is denied. But here, we've got a little bit different of a scenario with everything that's out there. in the public sphere.
All right, Misty and Ryan, thank you for kicking us off this hour. We appreciate it.
Well, the legal battle over President Trump's efforts to send troops into U.S. cities is taking on new urgency this morning as troops from the Texas National Guard have arrived in Illinois just outside Chicago.
President Trump argues the troops are needed to crack down on crime in Democrat-led cities across the country. These National Guard troops arrived yesterday. They've set up a staging area at an Army Reserve base. Texas Governor Greg Abbott says the troops are, quote, putting America first by ensuring that the federal government can safely enforce federal law.
NBC News senior White House correspondent Garrett Haake joins us with the latest here. Garrett, good morning. So we've seen this escalation by the Trump administration, sending these federal troops specifically to Democratic-led cities. We saw Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem visit Portland, Oregon yesterday, another city being targeted by the White House on this front. What's the latest on the ground in both these places we're discussing as they're pushing this crackdown on crime?
Yeah, and Kash Patel in Chicago yesterday, Savannah. I think these are slightly different but related situations. In Chicago, the focus is on crime more generally. You've heard the president tease this deployment for, months now, trying to get the National Guard in there to do something like what they did here in Washington, D.C., to try to suppress crime more generally. In Portland, the focus is narrower. They want to send the Guard and other federal resources to protect an ICE facility there that has been the target of some protests for several weeks now. You saw Kristi Noem at that facility yesterday arguing that the Portland police aren't doing enough to keep federal agents safe. Both of these cases are to some degree tied up in the legal process. There will be court hearings tomorrow in two different states to try to find some agreement, some ruling on whether these deployments are legal and what these troops can even do. Although at least in the Chicago case, it doesn't appear that the administration is waiting on any court hearing. They seem poised to move ahead with some degree of deployment starting today.
Garrett, as we mentioned a moment ago, President Trump's Attorney General Pam Bondi was in the hot seat yesterday on Capitol Hill at that Senate Judiciary Committee hearing, facing tough questions from lawmakers about concerns the administration is weaponizing the Justice Department. And Bondi was quite combative. Beyond what the talked about a moment ago, what were the big takeaways yesterday?
Joe, this was supposed to be an oversight hearing. I've covered dozens of them. I've never seen anything quite like this, with the Attorney General shedding far more heat than light on really any topic, refusing to answer senators' questions, being directly combative. She had what seemed like planned one-liners, attacking almost each Democratic senator who asked her questions in turn. Take this piece here as an example, a flavor of what we saw over several hours yesterday in the Senate.
Were you consulted by the White House before they deployed National Guard troops to cities in the United States?
I am not going to discuss any internal conversations with the White House.
You won't even say whether you talked to the White House about this?
I am not going to discuss any internal conversations with the White House with you, Ranking Member. You voted to shut down the government, and you're sitting here. Our law enforcement officers aren't being paid. They're out there working to protect you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump.
Obviously, Senator Durbin serving Illinois for something like 28 years in the Senate. I think that gives you a sense of what we saw in that hearing yesterday. Not a lot of new facts uncovered in that oversight hearing.
Garrett, we're now 1 week into the federal government shutdown. Also, it's going to continue at least into next week. We're learning the White House is arguing furloughed workers are now not entitled to back pay once the shutdown is lifted. This is a lot of people, regular Americans are interacting with. What more can you tell us about this?
Yeah, look, this came in the form of a draft memo that was floated by the White House yesterday. I think the way to view this is probably as a pressure tactic. There is a federal law in place that says those furloughed workers are, in fact, entitled to back pay once what's called a lapse in appropriations, i.e. once funding is restored to the government. I think what you may be seeing here is the White House looking for ways to find more pressure points. They feel like they only have to flip a handful of Democratic senators, peel off Democrats who would vote for this short-term stopgap funding bill to get the government reopened. They would rather go that route than engage in a full-scale negotiation with Democrats about, health care or other priorities that the Democrats have. So I would not be surprised to see efforts like this discussion about federal worker back pay or other ways where the White House can increase the pain points for Democratic lawmakers to say, guys, whatever else you think about this, let's reopen the government, continue these conversations later. I suspect that float, and we should look at it as a float, is the first, if not the last, such effort by the White House.
All right, Garrett, thank you.
Speaking of the government shutdown, today is day 8, and its impact is now spilling over into airports all across the country. Check out the numbers from the site FlightAware. We've already seen thousands of delays for flights going in and out of the U.S. this week. On Monday, more than 6,000, followed by more than 3,000 delays yesterday. The FAA warns those delays could continue. The longer the shutdown extends, the more it could take a toll on air traffic controllers. They were already working through a staffing shortage. Now they aren't getting paid. NBC News senior correspondent Tom Costello has more.
Nashville and Chicago are the late-breaking airports dealing with delays due to a shortage of controllers. FAA warning that Philadelphia, Indianapolis, Albuquerque, Dallas, Houston, and Boston could also be affected, all fueling concern that what happened in Burbank could soon spread.
Everything in the tower is closed. You have to call the 800 line.
With no controllers in the tower, pilots had to call San Diego controllers as delays quickly grew.
I wouldn't want to come to work if I'm not getting paid either, truthfully.
Controller shortages have also caused delays at Newark, Denver, and Phoenix. Controllers are expected to work without pay for now, even as they're already working mandatory overtime to make up for too few controllers. The FAA and union suggest stress may be a contributing factor.
They've got houses, mortgages, car payments. They have to put food on the table. They're concerned they might not get a paycheck. Right.
So far, controllers have not missed a paycheck. One controller tells NBC News the sick calls will start coming in because some controllers have to work a second job to bring money in. Does the union have any plans at all to organize some sort of a sick out across the entire union?
Absolutely not. We are going to show up to work, again, to serve the American people. We don't control the government opening or the government shutting down, and we sure don't control the government ending it.
While controllers are not furloughed, the president today suggested government workers who are may not receive back pay.
For the most part, we're going to take care of our people. There are some people that really don't deserve to be taken care of, and we'll take care of them in a different way.
But a 2019 law actually requires that furloughed government employees receive back pay. Separately, it is illegal for air traffic controllers to go on strike. So we're going to be watching closely. If they start missing paychecks, might the sick calls increase, and therefore might the delays also increase? We're going to be watching. Back to you.
All right, Tom, thank you. Let's bring in travel expert and Going spokesperson Katie Nastro for more on how travel amid the shutdown is going. So in the immediate future, Katie, there's still no sign of a deal between Democrats and Republicans on Capitol Hill. For those who have upcoming trips planned later this week, this weekend, and they're worried about how to manage these delays, what can you do to make your flight travel as smooth as possible?
Yeah, look, good morning, Joe. I mean, look, we don't know when and if these are going to happen. And if there is a delay, regardless of what the actual reason behind it, whether that's delays due to weather, mechanical issues or whatnot, we want people to be aware that the longer this goes on, the higher the likelihood is that we are going to see delays. So we should always have an alternate plan B, what I like to call a plan B flight, just in case as that fallback if you need to make alternate arrangements. I will say, though, two bright spots that we have seen in the last 2 days is that these delays, while they have increased, they haven't been really significant outside of ground stops and delays at specific airports. And TSA has not been experiencing any major delays in security lines outside of typical peak hours. But you should definitely prepare to get to the airport a little bit earlier. Again, if this continues, this is where we will see extensive time waits that we could be at the airport waiting for our flight to take off, as well as getting through security. So just being prepared in that way.
I got to say, I have already been traveling since this happened. I've got more to come. But the TSA agents who showed up, everybody was thanking them, saying thanks for coming to work. And I didn't have any problems then. We're a few days further into this. And I think probably a bigger concern here is the FAA rather than TSA. And they could potentially issue something that's called a staffing trigger. That ultimately ends up reducing the number of flights at airports because there's just not enough controllers to handle the traffic safely. If that does become a reality, when do we know something like that? Do flights just kind of like start getting canceled that you might already have booked? And what kind of tips do you have when there are fewer options?
Yeah, a lot of airlines app. I mean, first and foremost, always have your airline app downloaded. That's really going to be your source of immediate notifications. You get those push notifications on your phone faster than emails or texts. And you're going to see delay notices start to come in through there. You're also potentially going to see alternative options presented within your airline app. But I have to say, we have not seen a massive amount of cancellations. However, again, the name of the game is if this lasts and there are more ground stops, ground delays, this is where we could potentially see just, more havoc being wreaked across the country. We do want people to remember, if you have a flight that is significantly delayed by 3+ hours or more, that's for domestic flights, or it is outrightly canceled regardless of the reason, you have that right to a refund outside of taking a rebooking. And we might see more people take a refund in this scenario, especially as we go on and this government shutdown continues, to just opt not to fly and not deal with the potential for more delays.
Yeah, let's talk about one more specific example. Tom mentioned it was Nashville last night. A 5-hour ground delay was announced there, with the average departure delay stretching to more than 2 hours. Keep in mind, that's a Tuesday night, so not the chaos of winter holidays or the height of summer travel. So as people try to navigate this, I mean, is there a best time to maybe try to schedule your travel to minimize the impact of delays?
Yeah, great question, Joe. And a lot of people are asking themselves, should I change my flight to give me the best odds at getting to where I need to go? Again, we don't know when and if we're going to see delays at the specific airport that you're flying out of. I will say, though, if you can target an earlier flight, you have better chances at taking off on time. We've seen these delays occur later in the afternoon, evening hours, as delays can pile up and just become more of a pain point for all involved, as well as cancellations have a higher rate of occurring later in the day, afternoon, as well as weather. That's still playing effect here. So we want people to just be aware and try to target those morning flights as well as nonstop flights, so you can avoid delays not just at one potential airport, but multiple.
Yeah, that plane is already there first thing in the morning, so your odds are better. Katie, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, really good advice there. All right, 9 months into President Trump's second term, new numbers show illegal crossings at the southern border are reaching record lows. NBC News senior Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ainsley went to the border, and reports on the dramatic change over the past year.
New numbers showing the dramatic change at the border.
We've got the most controlled border we've ever had in the history, and in my lifetime in the Border Patrol.
In Eagle Pass, Texas, during the Biden administration, more than 2,000 migrants crossed into the U.S. in a single day. But now, under President Trump's policies, officers encounter just 20 migrants a day here. DHS touting the lowest number of illegal border crossings since 1970. And Border Patrol Chief Mike Banks tells us they'll expand the 1 mile of defensive buoys on the Rio Grande.
We've got about 500 miles identified across the entire Texas border where we're going to place these in the river.
Is this the new wall?
It's defense in depth.
We were here 2 years ago where migrants used to carry children on their backs to get across this river and cut through this barbed wire to get to the United States. They would see hundreds, even thousands a day in this very spot. But today, it's silent.
North in Del Rio, border residents telling us they're thrilled crossings are down.
We want our community back normal.
Border security a major factor in 2 majority Latino districts, Eagle Pass and Del Rio, voting red last November. Business owner Leo Martinez is a Democrat who voted for Trump, saying his once 8-hour commute to his factories across the border now takes 20 minutes.
Now, if you look at the border, it's super quiet. The current administration done, it's working.
His daughter voted for Trump, too.
Do you think what happened here with the surge led more people to vote for Trump?
Yes, 100%.
But across the border, President Trump's policy blocking asylum claims also having an impact. Johanna Romero, with her 6-month-old son, saying she's desperate, waiting in Mexico since December. Saying she's fleeing death threats from her baby's father. I was really afraid. It was a very strong threat, she said.
Our thanks to Julia Ainsley for that report. Well, President Trump's policy banning asylum seekers at the border is now being challenged in court and will be heard in November. The lawyers who are suing call the ban extreme. They say it blocks immigrants who are escaping real fear from getting a basic asylum screening, which they argue is their right. All right, let's pivot now for a check on your morning news now weather. It's a chilly fall, rainy morning here in New York and the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic. We're finally... Who put this That's in here for me. Living the life of a cold girl.
Oh, you didn't write that?
No. I didn't even see that.
The life of a cold girl. You got to hit it there, Angie Lastman.
We know that read
Cold
wasn't
girl.
meant for Joe, don't we? Yeah, guys, it is a little fall-like out there. We've got some rain. It's going to be kind of a soggy commute over the next couple of hours, but we do have improvement on the way as the day goes on. But let's start with what we've got right now. Rain stretched from essentially Maine all the way down through the mid-Atlantic. We're in and out of these showers. Some of them are going to be some pretty heavy downpours, so that's going to slow you down for sure on this morning's commute. This is associated with a cold front that's sliding a little farther to the south and east as the day goes on. But again, that wet commute on the I-95 corridor is something you want to take note of this morning. The front will move farther to the south and east here as the day goes on, and we'll start to see things drying out. Behind that, we'll be left with some cooler air. So it already feels a little cooler this morning, but we've got a big temperature difference in a whole lot of spots this morning. That autumn chill in place across parts of the Midwest. You can see parts of the Great Lakes as well as the Northeast. We've got these frost advisories, freeze watches, freeze warnings for nearly 30 million people. And when you look at the temperatures right now, they're pretty impressive. 29 degrees in Duluth, extra layers in Minneapolis today. Even Chicago, you're waking up to 50 degrees. I know that's not chilly by any means for where we should be for this time of year, but it's different than what we've had over the past couple of really weeks. So taking note of that as you head out the door, we'll see temperatures kind of landing close to average across the Great Lakes. Detroit tops out at 62. Philadelphia today, 71. So you won't so much as need that layer later, but notice the temperatures across the northern plains. We've got upper 70s. We've got high 70s for Denver. We're running above normal across that region really for the next couple of days. And we've kind of got those mixed highs going for tomorrow as well. When we look ahead to this weekend, it does feel like fall. 63 degrees on Friday in New York City, upper 60s to mid 60s both Saturday and Sunday. We'll keep the mild air in place for Minneapolis, Chicago, still ending up into the 70s in some of those spots, but still feeling a little bit more like fall than we have over the past couple of weeks, guys. I know people are trying to get out there and do some apple picking and all the other activities, and it sure is going to feel nice to do that.
Normal.
I love, yeah, and the rain doesn't stick around too much longer,
So it just cools it down for us.
Exactly.
The rain surprised me this morning when I was wearing
Did you bring your
sandals.
umbrella?
Nope, and I wore Birkenstocks. So that was
Oh,
great.
boy.
Yeah.
If only I could have told you.
If only I knew Angie. All right, thank you. See you in a little bit.
We do want to look at one of the bigger cases facing the Supreme Court this season, a case that was heard yesterday. It centers on the highly controversial practice of so-called LGBTQ plus conversion therapy. This method, popular in some conservative religious circles, tries to encourage LGBTQ plus youth and adults to identify as heterosexual and pushes transgender youth to identify with the gender identity assigned at birth. It has been widely discredited by the medical community, with many experts calling it harmful.
During oral arguments yesterday, the Supreme Court seemed to be siding with a Christian counselor from Colorado who argues that banning faith-based conversion therapy for kids violated her First Amendment rights. Now, if the court rules in her favor, it could lead to bans being overturned in more than 20 states.
For more, let's bring in NBC News legal analyst Angela Senadella and NBC News medical contributor Dr. Kavita Patel. They're going to help us look at this issue from both a medical and a legal perspective. Angela, let's start with you. This case argued as a First Amendment issue. So what are the main arguments on both sides here?
Good morning, Savannah and Joe. So the biggest question here in front of the court is whether or not this law regulates speech or regulates professional conduct, medical practice. So we have this Christian therapist here, Childs, arguing that all she does in her practice is talk therapy. She does not prescribe medication. She doesn't administer electroshocks. And so as a result, what is being regulated here is just talk. And I want to note that even Justice Kagan here yesterday, a liberal justice, did note that she is only allowed to talk about one side of this issue, in a sense, viewpoint discrimination, and not allowed to help align a teen or a patient with their own biological sex. Now, on the flip side, though, we have Colorado arguing that this is a regulation of medical conduct and that historically states have the total ability to regulate conduct that they consider to be harmful if it is in a medical way. So that is the big question in front of the court today.
Angela, as Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson pointed out during arguments, this case is coming shortly after the court upheld a ban in Tennessee that prohibits some types of gender transition care for young people. So what's different about this new case? Walk us through the changes here and how they both come before the court.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So Justice Jackson did note, how is this different? How can we give states deference in one scenario, but not in another to regulate medical conduct, to regulate therapy in an LGBTQ plus context? But the major difference before the court was that the Tennessee law had to do with physical changes, with physical conduct, with hormone therapy, with puberty blockers. And in that distinction, perhaps the burden on speech is incidental, but is not really the main form of conduct that's being regulated. It's not just talk, it's action that's being regulated in Tennessee.
Dr. Patel, we want to bring you in. As we said in the introduction, but it's worth reiterating, conversion therapy has been widely discredited by the medical community, with many experts calling it harmful. If you talk to someone who's in the LGBTQ plus community, myself included, they will tell you it is innately who you are. Lady Gaga's song Born This Way isn't just a song, it's a reality for people. So help us understand exactly what the research shows when it comes to this therapy. Is there even a standardized approach to it?
Yeah, let's first talk about what the research has shown us. It's overwhelming and it's global. A comprehensive Cornell University review looked at 47 peer-reviewed studies and found zero evidence that any sort of sexual orientation or gender identity could be changed through therapeutic intervention, including studies that documented significant negative psychological outcomes, including increased rates of depression, anxiety, shame, and unfortunately suicidality. So there are not just 47 peer-reviewed studies, but we also have multiple studies that have confirmed that conversion therapy, which doesn't have any standardized set of practices, but conversion therapy that included things like talk therapy, also resulted in concrete evidence of suicidality in LGBTQ plus individuals. So this is not something that is limited to certain practices. This is something that's been studied, and it's been studied and referenced not just by the United States, it's been studied and referenced in the globe with many institutions, including the United Nations, weighing in on that. This is simply a misnomer. To even refer to it as conversion therapy, Joe, is something that we don't even do in medical practice because it implies that there's some substance to it.
Yeah, Dr. Patel, you're just mentioning this, but there's also this recent study from Stanford, more than 4,400 people who underwent conversion therapy, higher rates of depression, PTSD, suicidal thoughts. So this really is also a mental health conversation.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's a mental health conversation. And I think I just want to, because something that Angela mentioned that the Supreme Court just weighed in on verbally, that this didn't constitute anything outside of counseling or talk therapy. By the way, that's medical care. That's mental health care. That's medical care. We don't separate talk therapy or talking to a patient. I talk to patients every single day. I don't think of that as not doing something medical. So I want to just make sure it's very clear that something that has been misconstrued in not just a Supreme Court argument, but in arguments to date. And that, again, these therapies, quote unquote, and I hate using that word, but these horrible things that are done to people include everything from electric convulsion therapy, which can be used, by the way, in medical settings appropriately. That has been something used to weaponize and kind of prop up conversion practices. But talk therapy is certainly also one of those references that has been stringed to lead to higher suicidality and worsened mental health.
Important conversation. Angela Senadella, Dr. Kavita Patel, thank you both for joining us. And since we did touch on the issue of suicide, it is important to see the Suicide Crisis Lifeline there on your screen. That phone number, 988.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.